With your Iowa City forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. For today, showers and thunderstorms with a high near 67. For tonight, clearing out, lows around 49. For Tuesday, sunshine, a high near 72. Clear skies, a low around 49 Tuesday night. Sunshine and 72 again for Wednesday. Thursday, sunshine and a high near 75. That's weather from SevereStudios.com on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Right now, it's 62.
Good morning. It is 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, and they have tolled the bells now in Pennsylvania for United Flight 93, 22 years ago today. HawkFanatic.com brought to you by Patrick Eads and his staff and service department at Deary Brothers Ford on Mormon Trek. Steve Anderson, Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for cars. GT Car and his crew at Supple's Siding and Remodeling. Supple's Flowers, home of 1-800-800-ROSE. The Midtown Family Restaurants. Harty and Stocker Jewelers, 101 South Dubuque Street, downtown Iowa City. The Sanctuary Pub on South Gilbert. Premier Automotive in North Liberty. The Oxyoke Inn in the Amanas. Streets Maintenance. The Wild Rose Casino in Clinton. And Dr. Lance Forbes, Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids. Joining Jim and I, here's Pat Harty from HawkFanatic.com, along with Coach Don Patterson.
Good morning, Don. How are you?
I'm well, Pat. How are you?
I'm not bad. We were hoping we'd be talking about a win, and that is what we are doing. Not a hugely convincing win, but like you've said, a win is a win. They're 2-0. Can't be any better than that. So 20-13 over Iowa State. Obviously the biggest topic of conversation in the wake of Saturday's game was the offense, and I'll just start by, Don, there were times where it didn't look a lot different than last season, the offense, Saturday. I think it's getting better, but 235 total yards, 112 rushing yards, those are, I think it's too early to be concerned about the offense, but obviously the offense has some issues right now. Would you agree?
We do have some issues on offense. Yeah, we need to be more effective in creating some scenes for our backs to run. Our backs need to own that as well by being more determined to pick up yards after contact. Those are two areas for sure where we need to improve. My favorite observation from Saturday, Pat, was that on offense, we were the more aggressive play callers.
Oh, yeah. Iowa State was playing like it was a five-quarter game. No sense of urgency.
I've made the comment before. It seems like sometimes we've had problems against Wisconsin because we tried to beat Wisconsin by playing their game. And by that I just mean ultra conservative, ball control, and find a way to win that game. It's hard to beat Wisconsin at that game. At least I'm talking about the old Wisconsin.
Sure.
Where they ran the ball 2 out of 3 snaps at least, and did play great defense and had a solid kicking game as well. But it was almost as if Iowa State had decided the best chance for us to beat Iowa is to not make any mistakes. The only problem with that, you've always heard me say, hard to steal second if your foot's on first. You got to take some shots. You got to take some calculated risk. It's hard for players just to generate on their own natural talent, hard for them to generate huge plays because the defense has so much to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And hats off to the defense. We were out there too long, 75 snaps versus our 51. But the amazing thing, Iowa State had 75 snaps and yet their longest gain of the day was 16 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So not a single explosive play. As I define an explosive play, that would be 20 yards or more, not one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's outstanding defense. And the announcers talked about it, and they're right. We just do a great job of keeping all eyes to the ball, keeping the ball in front of us, having proper leverage on the football. There's just no place to run. It seems like you always have to defeat 2 tacklers, not one.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're properly sandwiching you between them, then good luck breaking those 2 tackles. So that's encouraging. And again, a pick 6. Let's face it, that was a huge play.
Yep.
So let's start off with the first big play of the game. They drive 15 plays with the opening possession. It looks like a routine field goal, and then Logan Jones decides otherwise.
Yes.
Does a great job getting his hands up.
Special teams.
And people might say, well, that was only a 3-point thing. Well, at the end of the game, when we were up by 7, that 3 points looked huge.
No, without
because
question.
I promise you, if we only had a 4-point lead at the end of the game, we would have been sweating bullets, because a touchdown would win.
Mm-hmm.
I felt even if they were able to somehow drive and score a touchdown at the end of the game, I didn't think they were going to go for 2. They were playing at home, of course, and in a negative sense, they would have had momentum by scoring twice so late, and they would have reasoned we can kick the PAT and beat them in overtime. That's probably what they would have done. I don't know that, but I'll put it this way: if Max Campbell went for 2 and failed, he would be roasted at that point because they had the advantage of their home field and their fans were energized. They would have been energized at that point if they could have scored late. But so part of our defense, because we go on the field after we played it safe and punted, we were safe on 3 play calls, and then we punted the ball to them, and yet they never made a first down on that last opportunity.
Don, I thought Iowa State looked like an offense where the quarterback is playing before he's ready to play. They didn't look like they had a lot of faith in this kid, and it's understandable with the circumstances. I mean, they thought Hunter Deckers was going to be their quarterback. This kid's been accelerated.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think he has a real strong arm. He looked a little reluctant to run. They just looked like they didn't have any type of vertical approach to that defense. And after a while, like you said, Phil Parker, just keep your guys in front. And it just never really felt like Iowa State had much of a chance to score. Now, they did at the end there. I'll give him credit. But I just thought the quarterback, I think he could turn out to be okay, but he just seemed a little overwhelmed. And his arm strength was not great. There were a couple times where he had to throw from one hash to the other, and he had trouble getting there. I just think that their quarterback situation right now is a concern. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. They were determined not to beat themselves.
Yes.
And they did that with their offense. They only turned it over once, although that was a really costly one, that's for sure. Isn't it ironic that play almost looked identical to the play they had against you and I the week before?
Yeah. It was. And the thing with the Iowa running game, I mean, what Jazion Patterson, obviously, and this is what I wrote about today, Kirk has been making a point to include him anytime he talks about the running backs since last season. We'd ask him about LaShawn and Caleb, and he'd always bring in Jazion. Now we know why. I mean, he's going to play. They have a 3-headed attack now at running back. Now the challenge is going to be to keep Caleb and Jazion happy because LaShawn, to me, he's that veteran guy. He seems to kind of accept his role. They put him a lot in for pass blocking. Moving forward, don't you expect to see a lot more Jazion Patterson now?
Yeah, you couldn't help but notice number 2 started the game, but on our third offensive play, number 9's in the game.
Yes,
and furthermore, it's 3rd and 1, and of course it was a 59-yard game, so you got to give credit to Jazion for hitting the hole hard,
which he does.
And we didn't have a huge amount of running room on that play, but we certainly had enough. That's for sure. So a huge game to flip the field, but you put yourself in the shoes of Caleb. Of course, if he's leaving the field on 3rd and 1 on the 3rd play of the game, that's got to be a little bit disappointing. And I would imagine he might interpret it, well, the coaches don't have great confidence in me, but it's partially my fault, because I got to do a better job of busting tackles.
Well, Don, you remember last week in the season opener, Jazion was in there on the very first series. Remember, he caught that 18-yard screen pass. They had him in right away.
Correct.
So, I mean...
and I couldn't help but notice in the second half, on the second play of the second half, number 4 was in the game.
Yes.
So all 3 of those backs realized, I better perform because Coach Betts is not going to hesitate to go to the next guy.
Exactly.
And Liddell has good judgment on who should be in the game. I'm sure it's a little confusing to the other team, but the good news is that number 2 and number 9 have different running styles.
They do.
And I would say number 4 is a little more like number 9 with how he runs, which is they're all a good thing. There's nothing wrong with having a couple of backs that are a little bit different with how they run.
Oh, sure.
As long as they're both effective, or all 3 are effective. Someone made the observation, does it remind you a little bit of Nick Bell and Tony Stewart? And I guess you could say that, because Caleb is a little bit more like Nick Bell. He's a big, strong guy.
Just 40 pounds lighter.
And, of course, yeah. And of course, Jason is a little more like Cedric Shaw, I would say. So there's nothing wrong with having a different running style on the part of a couple of backs, as long as they can both be effective with what they do.
No, you're right about that. And now, as far as McNamara, I never thought he was a dual threat quarterback. I saw, but he looks. I mean, obviously he's not healthy right now. The downfield passing game right now is struggling. The receivers, the wide receivers, aren't catching a lot of balls. Are you concerned about the passing attack, or do you think a lot of this is just it'll come and McNamara's still hurt and they're being careful? What? Because the downfield. I mean, I just wasn't that. They had 123 yards passing.
Right. I have some concern about the passing game, and I'll explain it this way. We do a good job. We are tight end U after all.
Oh, without question.
So there's always going to be plenty of targets for the tight end.
Mm-hmm. And deservedly so.
And it's going to be productive. We're going to have a good yards per attempt to tight ends. The ball generally comes out pretty quick, of course, and that means we are going to be able to avoid a lot of sacks as it relates to throwing the ball to the tight end. The bigger issue I have going forward, I am concerned about how infrequently we target the wideouts, and for that matter, how infrequently we target the backs. Mm-hmm. Those percentages are lower than the average. If you were to look at Big Ten play, I'm sure that the targets would be less than the average team, and yet targets to the tight end, of course, would be more than the average team. So I'm a little concerned about that. Part of that responsibility, just like it weighs on the backs. If we can't run the ball better, they have to shoulder some of that blame. Well, the same thing applies to the wideouts. If we're not getting a lot of targets, we got to do a better job of getting separation. Got to do a better job of getting open. Mm-hmm. Got to be more reliable in catching a ball. I don't think catching a football has been much of an issue. Seems like when the wideouts have touched it, they've generally caught it.
Yeah.
But we could do a better job of getting separation than what we have. And frankly, it's not all the wideouts' fault. Part of that responsibility has got to go to the coaches, because we have to engineer plays that give them a chance to be wide open, if you will, or at least well open. I'll say it that way. So, I would challenge the coaches. Let's be innovative. Let's come up with some new and unusual ways to get them open. Let's try to play to their strengths. And obviously you're considering the opposition as you do so. So I'm sure we'll have some The thing that did please me, though, is we took shots down the field.
Yeah. And
we didn't have a great percentage on them, but it wasn't because we didn't try. And for that matter, there were some good productive plays down the field. How about 35 yards on 3rd and 2? That's a good play.
That was. I thought Brian Ferentz had a pretty good day calling plays. I didn't think that was an issue at all.
Yeah, we actually 3 different times we went play-action pass on 3rd and short. At this point, I would suggest they're alert that we might go play-action on 3rd and short. Mm-hmm. We did it 3 times in one game, but I was still pleased that we did, because it reminded them, you better not try to gang up on us and load the box, because we might cross you out. Part of good play calling is keeping the other team uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. With what might be coming next. Here's a prime example. Did you see KU on Thursday night?
Did I see what? Yeah, I watched Yeah, I was very impressed with Kansas.
It's funny. We were watching the game here, and Lisa made the comment. She said, it looks to me like Andy really did a really good job of learning from you about play calling. And I thought it was an accurate statement. Andy Kolnick is a guy that nobody really knows much about. He's their offensive coordinator, but he was a grad assistant for me at Western Illinois. And I don't know that Andy deserves all the credit, but he deserves a lot of it, because he is the play caller. And they had I texted Andy after the game, and I said, congratulations, Andy, on a really good performance. Mm-hmm. Hats off to you, because your offense shows imagination and innovation. I couldn't be prouder of you for the job you did as a coach for KU. And he texted me back, and he said, thanks, Coach, that means a lot coming from you. But I was just being honest. Illinois didn't know what to do. They were off balance all night long, really, with KU's play calling. And it does help to have a quarterback like KU.
That's what I was going to say. He reminded me of Brad Banks in some ways, even a little. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not such an asset unless you call plays that give him a chance to do what he does. And they did that. And we have made progress with our play calling, no doubt in my mind of that, because in game 1 and game 2, we were more aggressive with how we called the game. That's a good thing.
I thought KU was way more.
Chance to make plays.
I thought KU was
What's
way
that?
more. I thought Kansas was way more athletic than I assumed they would be at skill positions. From the quarterback, the running backs, they just had a bunch of guys who could make plays in space.
Yeah, and one way to be able to gain an edge with your athleticism is to put the other team into a mode where they don't really know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the best way to play great defense is to be able to play fast. And Illinois, they lost some of that confidence they had with what was coming next. I don't think they had a good idea as to how KU was going to run the game.
And I think
offense.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they did a great job of keeping Illinois off balance.
Illinois also doesn't have a Chase Brown, Bill Cow running back that they can just rely on. I think they got some okay running backs, and I was not that impressed with the quarterback. I know he's a transfer from Mississippi, but I think DeVito played better than that guy played the other night. It just didn't look like the same type of Illinois team at quarterback and running back. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they do miss the running back a lot. Of course, he was a game breaker.
He sure
and
was.
They do miss, in particular, some guys in the back end on defense.
Oh, without question. The cornerback, Weatherspoon.
Yeah, that defense last year was one of the best. This year, the jury's still out. It appears that they certainly might not be as good as last year.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And they won a lot with defense last year, including the Iowa game. But, okay, now as far back to Iowa with McNamara, I thought he would do more rollouts and more throwing on the run. Could that simply be a product that they're having him do what he can do physically right now? Because he's doing a lot of just stationary passing from the pocket. I thought, and I mean, when we got him, you know, the fans and media, well, this is going to help because the pocket will be more mobile. With Spencer, the criticism was, he just stands back there. Cade's doing a lot of that now, but do you think some of that is due to the injury?
My guess is that it is. Yes.
Okay.
You know, we're not gonna put Cade in the position to be vulnerable. Of course, if we can win the game by having him throw out of the pocket and being secure with our pass protection, then that's a good way to go. I was encouraged to read in the paper. You know, I got the impression from Cade's comments that he was feeling better after game 2 than
he did say
after
that.
Game 1.
Yeah, he did say that he did not regress.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You know, he made it through the game just fine. He did a good job of running the offense. There were times when he wanted to throw the ball downfield and chose wisely not to, I think. Maybe not as many as in the first game. It seems like we checked the ball down more against Utah State than we did last week against Iowa State. There was that one interception. The only thing that bothered me about that play, that's what I call a Vegas concept, where we're throwing the ball to an inside receiver that's working deep downfield. First off, it was really soft coverage on our slot receiver, and that's not an ideal situation to run that particular concept. And so the DB was on top of him, the same safety that intercepted the passes the week before. And the only thing that, based on the fact that we threw the ball to that inside receiver, it was matched up on the safety.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing Chase could have done, he probably knows this already, is we do have a phrase where we talk about throwing the receiver open. And that simply means throwing the ball away from the defender so that only our guy can get it. And the receiver knows, you know, Cade's not throwing it for me to come in and catch it, but he's throwing it so that the defender cannot get it.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the location of the throw, of course, the DB had a good chance to play it. I do think maybe there should have been a flag thrown there for interference. We didn't get the call. I know Iowa State fans would say that we should have been flagged a few times, too, for interference.
It was definitely interference, though, on that play.
Yeah, they just kind of let them play, and I don't like that because I'd rather the officials call defensive interference when it happens because it happens too much. I think that's part of the problem with our game now is DBs are able to get by with more than what they should be able to.
So, Don,
I think the NFL is more consistent with their calls on defensive pass interference than college officials are.
So, Don, if you were in Kirk's shoes right now, would you be tempted to sit McNamara out this Western Michigan game, or is that just too much disrespect? And hey, he's just going to have to battle through this. Would it be tempting to give him like just a full week of nothing, and then maybe get him back?
It would be, yeah, it would be tempting. But I'll say this, Pat: neither you or I know enough about Cade's injury.
Exactly, you're right.
Know what call makes the most sense. Kirk does know that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He'll make the best decision as to what to do with this game. I will admit, immediately after the game, I started thinking, let's see, Sunday's an off day. If we gave Cade a week of rest, that would be 8 consecutive days where he could simply rehab and get treated and recover maybe a significant amount from where he is. We simply don't know if 8 days would matter that much. What I don't want us to do, and I hope we don't do this, I hope we don't say, well, Cade will be a game-time decision, so we're going to practice him this week, and we'll decide on Saturday if he can play against Western Michigan. I hate to do that because to work him out during the week, even if it's an abbreviated practice schedule for him, it's still not giving him that full opportunity to rest and recover. So if 8 days of recovery doesn't matter, then I guess we'll just march on forward and protect him as best we can with our play calling, and then hope that he just gradually gets better from one week to the next.
I mean, he was questionable for the Iowa State game up until kickoff. I think that's going to be kind of their MO, because now with the new rule, all you have to do 2 hours before the game is say who's not going to play. You can still list them as questionable, and that's what they did with him. And, I mean, I don't want to show any disrespect to Western Michigan, trust me, but don't you think Iowa should be able to beat – that's not a great MAC team right now, from what I can tell. Don't you think they should be able to beat them with their backup quarterback? Or am I asking too much? Is that just naive on my part? Because you're right. Kirk knows way more about the injury.
That's not asking too much. And if you're not sure that that's the case, then you could just ask Kentucky from the bowl game. Iowa can still win with someone other than the starting quarterback.
Yes.
And we proved that against Kentucky. But, I just don't know. It's safe to say that this is not a great Western Michigan team.
No.
48-7 versus Syracuse, of course, says a lot about the problems they have, because I'm not sure how good Syracuse is either. They're clearly superior to Western Michigan. But we just simply don't know. One other point I will make, which I think will make sense to you, one thing we do know is Cade did not play against Western Michigan, then there'd be no setback on his end during the game itself. And let's not forget, if he's less than 100% next Saturday, then he is, just by the nature of the game, he is more susceptible to injury in the game.
No, you're right. That's a good
point. If he were 100% healthy.
As we saw against Utah State, obviously he was put in some pretty stressful situations, and you could tell that he was hurt. And the thing is, Don, I don't think they can win at Penn State with what they're doing on offense right now. I mean, I don't want to sound like a gloom and doomer, but do you agree with that? I think what they're doing right now, some of it is caused by Cade not being 100%. I think their hands are tied in a way.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Another way to think of it, do we really want to try to beat Penn State without having all of our weapons in place, without having full access to any and all plays? We need to be all hands on deck for Penn State, obviously. And I don't know. But the thing I have great confidence in, Kirk does know precisely what the doctors know.
Yes.
And he'll make a good decision. If the 8 days of rest could make a significant difference in Cade's health, I'd be all for it. And let's face it, those backup quarterbacks need to play too.
That's a good point, yeah.
Because they're going to be better suited to play if and when they have to go in. So that's another argument for resting Cade. I don't know what will happen. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that the two backups will, get more than a few snaps during the week in preparation for Saturday, if only to cut back a little bit on Cade's workload from one practice to the next.
Obviously, it'd be great to get off to a quick start, get a big lead, get Cade out of there, get Deacon and Joey some reps in case Cade goes down, because I'll tell you, Penn State, I know Delaware's not, they beat them 62-7. They scored a ton of points against West Virginia. West Virginia's not great, but that's still that's a Power 5 decent football program. This Penn State team, at least offensively, right? This looks like a pretty good Penn State team. Do you agree?
It looks to me like it might be the best Penn State team that
he's had. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
yeah.
their running backs are dynamic. They've got the best offensive linemen in college football, and Drew Aller may end up being a step up from Sean Clifford if he keeps. I mean, he's got an NFL arm. No, that's going to be a tall order out there.
Yeah, he's been impressive. And let's face it, if you're a Penn State fan right now, you're thinking this is the year when we can beat both Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
That's a tall order, of course. But right now, Penn State has to feel that they have as good a chance as the other two.
Yep, and they have Michigan. And they get Michigan in Happy Valley. They go to Ohio State, but I'm not overly impressed with Ohio State right now. Their running game, despite all the 5-star running backs, is pretty average. The quarterback's okay. I don't know. This doesn't look like a powerhouse juggernaut Ohio State team. Now, when I say that, I still expect them to win 9 to 11 games. I mean, they're extremely talented.
Yeah.
But have you seen them play enough?
They are a work in progress.
Yeah.
They're not a championship team right now.
No, not at all. Not at all at this stage. Now, well, since we're talking about teams, and I wanted to, did you watch the Colorado-Nebraska game?
You know, I watched a little bit of it, but not a lot. I didn't see much of it. I guess it's good for college football that there's that much enthusiasm with a program that has not had much enthusiasm in years. But Nebraska, if I'm a Nebraska fan, I'm pulling my hair out because I'm thinking we're still shooting ourselves in the foot way too often. And maybe that'll, maybe you've heard me say Matt Rule's an outstanding coach. I can't imagine that he's not going to solve it. But it's going to take some time.
And a quarterback.
And then, of course, they might have taken too many hits to have a great season. But I'd much rather play in Nebraska now than play them in November, I'll say that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just didn't think Deion's son was as good a quarterback as he is, man. He can throw the ball. I mean, he's got almost 1,000 yards passing in 2 games. I think he's like over 900 yards. It's just been incredible. I mean, what they've done on that second half, it was just a complete wipeout. Nebraska had no answer for that.
Here's a question for you, Pat, and I don't even know the answer to this. Did TCU play on Saturday, and if so, what was the result?
I do not know if TCU played on Saturday. Sorry, I do not.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I didn't notice the score, but I wasn't looking for it either.
I don't think it's going to be a great TCU team.
Yeah, my point is maybe TCU, you know what preseason rankings are all about.
Yeah.
It's just somebody's best guess. And there are any number of preseason top 25 teams that will not finish in the top 25. You know that.
Oh, yeah, and the over-under on Colorado wins for this year was 3.
TCU did play Saturday against Nicholas State, 41-6.
Okay, so that doesn't really tell us much. But, the over-under on Colorado out of Vegas for wins this year, Don, was 3. So this is something nobody expected. How long it lasts, I still say Colorado looks like they could be a little vulnerable in the interior on both sides. They're not real big, but they have such incredible skill players. And this quarterback, Deion's son, is just, he's lights out. He throws such a soft, catchable ball, and I didn't expect that. So it's quite a story, but it'll be interesting because, like Deion said after the game, they were doing the disrespect card going into all this stuff. They don't have that now because the whole nation's just in love with them now. It'll be interesting to see how they handle success because, as you know, to go from disrespect to being the top dog, that's a different mentality, right?
Yeah, that's true. I flashed back to the 1985 season. I remember vividly we were over at Iowa State. I believe it was game 2, and we beat them convincingly. And as we were busing back, somehow we had an idea even then, we're probably going to be number 1 in the polls this week. And so you go from being the hunter to being the hunted. And it's a little extra additional burden to carry a high ranking into each and every game because you're going to get everybody's best shot.
That's a good point, yep. Okay, looking at Kirk, 200 career wins. As expected, he downplayed it and said it was all the people around him, which most coaches do. But just, can you put into words what to win 200 games like Kirk has? What can you describe what kind of an accomplishment that really is?
Well, I don't mind. I don't think Kirk would mind either. I texted Kirk congratulations, and it said something like this: "Congratulations on another milestone victory. it is once again a Hawkeye State, and you, Kirk, are proof, and I made proof in all caps. You are proof that great character can withstand the test of time. And Kirk has done that. You know, he's got great character. Nobody can question that. Nobody can question his motives from one year to the next. And his record has stood the test of time. And I'm proud to say we've had two coaches in 45 years. That's pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure both of them did a lot of things right to be able to get that done.
Yeah, and for Kirk to be able to sustain with a offense that more times than not has been below average, that says, I mean, they're elite on defense and they're elite on special teams. I think the hope is that this year they can at least be average. They haven't gotten there yet, but they are 2-0. I mean, you can't replace 2-0. So I don't want to sound overly concerned about the offense, but I am concerned about the offense. I mean, it's a fair concern, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And think of it this way. You know, people would say, well, what's the problem? Look at our one-loss record. Well, good records are nice, but our goal is to win them all.
Yes.
I mean, Kirk would tell you that. That's our goal, to win them all. And it's hard to do, and the best chance you have to do that is to create the smallest margin for error possible. In other words, right now, if we're suspect on offense, it puts extra pressure on the defense in the kicking game, and we have less margin for error. Prime example from last season would be the Illinois game. You know, to give up 9 points, usually that's going to generate a win. Mm-hmm. But on that particular day against that particular team, it wasn't quite enough. So we need the greatest possible margin for error. Or another way to say it, what if we are -2 on turnovers? Are we going to have any kind of chance to win that game? Based on the way the last season went and so far this season, probably -2 is going to get us beat. And the good news is we do a good job protecting the ball. We do a good job generating turnovers on defense. Maybe we'll never be -2 this year. We certainly hope not. But if we are -2, it's going to be a problem. And we're not going to be maybe as high-powered enough on offense to be able to overcome the loss of that ball a couple or three times.
One question I get asked a lot, and I've had some people want me to ask you this. Some fans are like, why does Iowa have so many running plays, especially on first down, that go nowhere or that lose yards? Can you put a finger on that? Because they do have a lot. There's a lot of 2nd and 12s and what have you. It just seems like there's 4 or 5 running plays a game that just completely break down. Is that usually just one guy not doing his assignment, or is it sometimes defense just making a great play?
Well, that's the problem. You've heard me say before when we had our All-American center, I said it's reassuring to know our All-American center is going to block his guy all day long. The only problem is we really measure our run blocking success by asking the question, how did all 5 of them do in the offensive line? Mm-hmm. And sadly, if one guy gets beaten, it might be enough to ruin the play. If 2 guys get beaten, you can just about count on it that it's going to ruin the play. So that's the challenge, is to create seams in the defense and for our guys to be able to hit those seams and hit them hard and hit them quickly and sliver into daylight. You know, that's the best you can hope for. Typically, if we got to give the defense credit for trying to mess us up. So sometimes it's some kind of stunt that's designed to disrupt the running game, and sometimes those players don't charge where they're supposed to. And if it's well conceived, then we may give up some penetration into our backfield. We don't want to, but it's the nature of the game. They're trying to mess us up, and we're trying to mess them up too. Sometimes they win. Sometimes the charge does penetrate the line of scrimmage, and now sometimes our back doesn't have a great place to go. Mm-hmm. And that's how you end up with the -2s and -3s sometimes. But one way to counter that, of course, is to keep them honest at least by taking some shots down the field from time to time. Now at least they can't really pack the box, and you know what I mean when I say pack the box. Mm-hmm. And we need to force them to defend the field, and that gets them further away from the ball and gives us more opportunity to run.
And in fairness to Brian Ferentz, there were a couple plays had Iowa executed better, he would have looked even – I mean, the one Cade would love to have that throwback to Seth Anderson where where Seth beat his man on that vertical route, and Cade just overthrew him. He also overthrew Lachey on a down and out where, I mean, a better throw, those are big gainers for Iowa. You know the one with Seth Anderson where he blew by the defender and he had nothing but green grass, but he just overthrew him. There's nothing a play caller can do in those situations.
Yeah, I love throwing the ball when you're backed up inside the 10-yard line because people don't expect you to do it. It does take a little bit of guts to do it. As I recall, we were on the -8, and it was a 2nd and 14, as I recall. So it reminds me one time we were playing over at Illinois State when I was at Western Illinois, and they had the wind at their back, and they killed a punt inside the 5, and then they killed another punt inside the 5, and finally the third time we started off inside the 5, I made a comment. I said, "That's enough. We go play action pass, and put only 2 receivers out, and gave max protection." And threw the ball 99 yards for a touchdown. So you can imagine that's just ripping their heart out when you do that to a defense. And sometimes it's a bold move. I mean, let's face it, it's a bold decision to make. But you could argue, well, they don't expect us to throw down here, so they're certainly not in pass rush mode. They're geared to defend the run. So it does give us a chance to have enough time to throw the ball down the field. Good route by Seth, incidentally. He's already proven in 2 games he's a good route runner.
He is.
And he does have soft hands. So he's a good pickup. I couldn't help but notice Higgins for Iowa State, was a transfer from Eastern Kentucky.
Yes, he was. Had big stats down there.
I hope the football world's starting to understand there are a lot of good players in FCS football.
Exactly.
And we're seeing some of them in the FBS because the really good ones are transferring up. That's a problem for FCS is because you're going to lose some of your better players that don't have to sit out when they transfer up. But that's just the nature of the beast. That's what we have right now. So that's an unfortunate result for FCS football is they're going to lose some of their top players.
And on defense, I'm so far I've been really impressed with Jay Higgins, and I thought Nick Jackson had a much better game against Iowa State than he did the first game. I thought he was okay the first game, a lot more active this game. I'm not saying they're Jack Campbell and Seth Benson, but they look like they have 2 solid linebackers on defense yet again. Do you agree?
I do agree. I had special mention on defense. I mentioned 3 guys, and, of course, Sebastian. I have no problem making Sebastian the player of the game based on that huge pick 6. But Cooper DeJean, 10 total tackles, 6 of which were solo. 1 pass broken up. I couldn't help but notice he's still a killer on punt coverage, too.
He is.
He can do it all. He probably does have an S on his chest underneath that Iowa jersey because he feels punts flawlessly. He covers punts. There's really not much he cannot do. I would imagine he'd be a really good Wildcat quarterback. I'm not recommending that, but it just supports my argument that he can do it all. Nick Jackson, though, 9 total tackles, 3 of which were solo, 1 quarterback hurry. And here's, I think, the biggest unsung hero of the day, Joe Evans.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
He had 5 total tackles, 1 pass broken up. You remember that because it was on that last series of downs. He recognized they're going to throw. He got his hands up, batted the ball down, and they gave us 4th and 1 that we also stuffed him on. And I had him for 4 quarterback pressures.
Yeah.
They only had him for 2. I guess it must have been an Iowa State person identifying pressures because I saw 4 myself.
Well, he was chasing Beck all over the place from sideline to sideline.
Yes, he was.
His motor was incredible.
He was playing like he grew up in Ames and wanted to do harm to the Cyclones.
Yes, he was, and he gave the pregame speech, too.
That's where he did grow up.
Yep. He was a quarterback for a buddy of mine from junior high. Bruce Vertinen was his high school coach. Bruce and I grew up together. But Joe was a typical Iowa player under Kirk Ferentz. I mean, their ability to see diamonds in the rough and then see a position for them, to me, that may be one of Kirk's greatest strengths. I mean, Joe Evans didn't have any Division I. Iowa gave him a chance, and now look at him. He's a 6-year defensive end. He's going to leave here a 3-4-year starter. And emotionally, I think he gave them a huge edge in that game. And Don, they were winning 20-3. I thought they were on the verge of blowing them out. I mean, I really did. I'm like, okay, I'll give Iowa State credit. They didn't fold. They did come back a little bit, but no, Iowa for 3/4 of that game, I thought Iowa looked like the better team easily, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, and you couldn't help but feel if we played them 10 times, we'd beat them a lot more than 5.
Yes, I agree.
We might beat them 8 or 9 out of 10. So it was good that we, we certainly didn't do anything to lose the game. We protected the ball. We eliminated big plays. Here's an interesting thing. We also proved that we can win even if Torrey Taylor does have a very average day for him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He averaged 46.3. The Iowa State punter averaged 51.8.
Their punter's good.
So every time they traded punts, they picked up 5.5 yards. That probably won't happen the rest of the season. I don't know that anybody will out-punt Torrey the rest of the season.
Well, 46 is still pretty good.
Oh, yeah. It is pretty good. But some of those yards were actually on the ground.
They were.
Some of them was roll yardage. It was not Torrey's best day. He's only human. We shouldn't expect him to be perfect. But even on an off day, he's pretty darn impressive. You're right about that.
Yeah, but no, Iowa State does. I believe he's and I think this transfer from Nebraska gives them a pretty decent kicker. They look like they're going to be better than they usually are on special teams. I just think the gambling stuff has really hurt them. I mean, they were not ready for someone besides Hunter Deckers to be their quarterback this year, and it's going to be interesting. This kid's on an accelerated course now, but that's no longer our concern. Our concern is looking forward to the Big Ten, and let's kind of look around the Big Ten. Obviously, Don, I don't want to sound too critical, but the West is not very good right now. Does not look very good to me. I watched that Wisconsin. Maybe Washington State's going to end up being a 10, 11, 12-win team. Wisconsin just didn't look very good. I just was not that impressed with them. Did you watch any of that game?
I did. History says Wazoo will not do that kind of damage over the course of the season.
No.
But I will admit that they won at Camp Randall last year. They obviously feel like they match up well against Wisconsin, even though Wisconsin's style of play on paper is going to be considerably different than last year. I think you're right about this. I know 1 week earlier I was impressed. You heard me make the comment. I'm concerned that Wisconsin might be the kind of offense that can run for 300 1 week and throw for 300 the next. Well, they certainly couldn't run for 300 against Washington State.
Couldn't do anything.
And and maybe Buffalo wasn't as good as we thought they were going to be, because you may not be aware of this. Buffalo somehow managed to lose to Fordham last weekend.
Really?
And that's a killer loss. Nobody saw that coming. Maybe the stars had to be perfectly aligned for Fordham to beat them, but Fordham did upset them. And Fordham is a not very good FCS team traditionally. Maybe Fordham's made progress, but it's hard to imagine that they're that good.
I just wasn't that impressed with Wisconsin's offensive line. It just didn't.
Yeah, getting back to the conference in the West, Wisconsin was disappointing against Wazoo. Illinois was disappointing against KU. Nebraska continues to shoot themselves in the foot, it seems. Purdue's, I didn't think Purdue could go to Ball Tech and win, but they did. So, maybe they're going to be, a lot of people do rave about their quarterback.
That's a big win for them.
That'll help them, but I still feel that there's no way that Purdue is going to be the same kind of offensive team that they were under Jeff Brom. And maybe they'll pull it off, but as you know, they lost a good quarterback last year. They lost a tight end to the draft early. They lost Charlie Jones. Those are all hard people to replace.
They did get that transfer from Texas, but, Don, I think that game down there may say more about Virginia Tech than Purdue. Virginia Tech has really been on a decline here steadily for a while, and yeah. I think that's maybe a major red flag for Virginia Tech, but still don't want to take anything away from Purdue. I mean, that's a big win. I mean, if Iowa went down and won at Virginia Tech right now, we'd be praising that. So, no, don't take anything away, but this West is so winnable this year. I mean, if Iowa can just be average. Tech,
that game included a lot of weather delays.
It did.
And at that point, whatever home field advantage they have, I'm sure they lost a lot of that home field advantage because of the weather.
Yeah, no, that weather was a big factor. You saw it in the NFL, too. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals only had one field goal in their game yesterday. Burrow signs the richest contract ever, but the rain was just – it was pouring down. I mean, everybody's human. So that was one nice thing about Saturday's game. The weather was not a factor. Everyone said it was just beautiful over there. So if you're Kirk going into this week, and again, no disrespect to Western Michigan, Iowa should win this game. If you're Kirk, what are you emphasizing this week offensively in practice?
Well, I'm sure that they're going to reemphasize fundamentals of football. And by that, I mean the offensive line is going to be working to sustain their blocks a little bit longer, working to get a little more movement than they got in recent weeks. Just perfecting their technique as far as how to be the best possible blocker with the God-given ability that I have as a player. Back to fundamentals, I'm sure they're going to start there. I think our backs need to own the fact this stat came out. I thought it was innocent. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but they claimed it to be. The TV people said Iowa, after game one, had 67 yards after contact, which was third worst in Power 5, they claimed. I don't know who measures yards after contact. It's probably some poor grad student that played high school football that's keeping track of it. Who knows where those numbers are developed and who knows how accurate they are. But for what it's worth, they claim that we were one of the worst teams in Power 5 in terms of yards after contact. So the backs have to take offense to that because that's on them, of course. Backs do pride themselves on being capable of getting all kinds of yards after that first tackler shows up. And in that regard, we can, become more lethal with the ball under our arms as a runner. And that's not just for the backs. That's also for tight ends and receivers.
No, that's a good point. And I think that like Jazion, that 59-yarder, it was hard to have yards after that contact there because he found the hole. The one thing I like about Jazion, he seems to hit that hole really hard. Like that touchdown run, that 4-yarder, there was a little traffic he had to get through there, but he seems to sense the gap and then boom. How important is that? Some of that stuff can't be coached, right? Some of that's natural ability, right?
Yeah, you're right. And that touchdown run, if there was a crease, it wasn't very wide.
But it was small.
It was just a little sliver of daylight, but he somehow fit through it. And I'm sure Iowa State was surprised that he came out on the other end. That was a 4-yard touchdown run. Mm-hmm. And down there, of course, 4 yards are typically hard to come by.
It is. The other thing about Jazion, too, and I wrote about this, Don, is he could have easily transferred. When he came in with Caleb Johnson, they were both together. He's a former 4-star, had big-time offers. When it became obvious that he was not going to be the featured guy last year, he kind of lost that competition against Caleb. He could have easily left this program and transferred somewhere else while like so many others are, but he stuck with it. Doesn't that tell you something about him?
Yes, it does. And it says two things. It talks a lot, it addresses his character, that he's not afraid to take on a challenge. Mm-hmm. He's not going to run from competition. But it also is a credit to the culture that's within the program.
Yeah.
Because he's not nearly the only guy that chose to stay and fight the good fight. Jay Higgins is a great example of that. Mm-hmm. Jay Higgins could have gotten discouraged playing behind Jack Campbell and having Seth to deal with, too, in terms of getting extra playing time as a linebacker. But he didn't do that. It just says he's a good teammate. Kirk has always emphasized character. Hayden always did the same. You can recruit great athletes, but unless they have character, you still got problems, I can promise you. Mm-hmm. So the trick is to recruit exceptional athletes that also happen to have exceptional character. That's how you're able to win championships.
And when you stick around like that, too, like Jazion, I think it shows that they trust the coaches. I think it shows that they don't think they're being screwed. They don't think they're being picked on. You just got to keep working, and that's what Jazion said. He goes, I just kept my head down and kept working and knew my opportunity would come. And I think he trusted Kirk and the system, and now here we are. Now, go ahead.
I was simply going to say, it reminded me sometimes as a head coach, when I was at Western Illinois, you'd have a player come in and he would say, Coach, I'll be honest with you. I think you have a full appreciation for how well I can play football. I don't think my position coach has that same high opinion of me that you do. And my response typically was, Joe, you're wrong. And for that matter, I'm confident that your coach is correct. You deserve as much playing time as you've been getting. And here's your problem. You can have the attitude that you're a victim, but that's your attitude, that's your viewpoint that you're a victim. With all due respect, I think you're wrong. Your coach has paid good money to play the best players the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's paid to do. If he doesn't do it well enough, I'll get another coach. So please understand, your attitude that you're a victim is the wrong attitude to have. The attitude you need is, I'll show him. He doesn't have a full appreciation yet. I haven't done as good a job as I need to demonstrate that I deserve more playing time. And, you know, the funny thing that happens, of course, as you demonstrate that, here's an amazing thing as a result, you get more and more playing time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a lot of touches as a skill player, you better do something with the ones you have. You know, if you want the ball to be thrown your way, you better make some great catches and do something after the catch. At that point, I promise you're going to get the ball more.
So, Don,
so until you're productive as a player, I'm talking about skill guys now, but it applies to O linemen or D linemen too. You want more playing time, make more plays.
So, Don,
it's really that simple.
Did you ever have a situation as a head coach where you had to step in with a position coach and say, "Hey, I think this guy needs to play more," or did you ever have to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so there are times when it could happen where the head coach looks and says, "You know, I don't like the way I think this kid's deserves more playing time." So that does happen too sometimes.
It does. I always reminded the coaches when we first started the season in a meeting, I would say to nobody in particular, some of you guys weren't even sure who your starter was a week ago. Now you've made that difficult decision to go with A over B. But I want to remind you here in Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, it's hot, it's humid. Don't be afraid to play the backup. You're the same guy that agonized over who's the better player. So play them both and let's decide based on game results who's the better player. Sometimes it was the backup that was the better player.
Well,
You've heard that expression, Pat. Some guys are gamers.
Yeah, like Chuck Hartley.
It's true.
Chuck Hartley was a perfect example of that.
I think back to Rob Howland. He wasn't that good a kicker in practice. But on Saturday, I'd take him every time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And going back to the Iowa running backs, and I know it's Liddell that makes the game, but Brian Ferentz, also, obviously, he approves of all three playing. I like the way that they've utilized these three running backs so far. And before I can't believe the hour's already up, I wanted to ask you, the Michigan State situation with Mel Tucker, obviously it's disheartening for college football. Do you want to comment on that at all? How much do you know about it? Have you read anything about it? And it's just a really unfortunate situation for a school that's been through a little.
Well, I'm heartbroken that the Big Ten has to go through stuff like this because it really is a mark against the conference, too. Just unfortunate. All I can say is, you know, you work hard to develop a good reputation. Please don't do anything to ever tarnish it. You know, just this past weekend, which was so meaningful for me, Lisa and I were over to watch Western Illinois play. It was the one opportunity I had that we had to see them this fall because I'm, you know, doing some TV games for the Missouri Valley. And, of course, I'm not going to miss an Iowa home game either. And it was so meaningful. We just got into the game, and we were walking across the parking lot, and this man came up to us, and he said, "Coach, you don't know me, but I just want to I want to thank you and congratulate you because you brought so much class and so much dignity to 11A football. I could never properly thank you." And, you know, it almost brings tears to my eyes to recount what happened, but it was very meaningful because my goal, just like Kirk's goal, is to represent University of Iowa as well as possible. That was my goal as an assistant at Iowa. It was my same goal at Western Illinois. My gosh, you know, Kirk as a head coach and me as a head coach, we better be great role models to our players because otherwise we're not doing our job.
Yep.
You know, you got to set a great example for your players. You know, I remember one time a player told me, "Coach, you don't realize one reason the Irish played so well is because they didn't want to disappoint you." You know, that's meaningful when you hear that as a coach because it just reminds you I am setting the right example for these young men. And that's the example that Kirk sets. And sadly, that's an example, I guess, that wasn't very well set at Michigan State.
No,
maybe he was a great example to his players, but he was still living a lie in other parts of his life, and now it's all going to come crashing down on him.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they settle the money here. D'Antonio's back as the associate head coach. Somebody actually reached out to me, and I mean, I guess we're speculating. Could you see Michigan State going after Phil Parker at this stage? Or do you think that ship has sailed? If they were going to ever do that, they would have done it by now?
Well, I could see it, I guess, but the reality, of course, is that it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yes.
Do they have somebody from within that can be an interim coach before becoming the head coach?
Well, Harlan Barnett's doing it right
know
now. Harlan Barnett, remember, he's a former Michigan State player, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I do remember him as a player. I had great respect for him as a player. I would imagine he's been a really good assistant coach. I don't know that for a fact, but it's kind of hard to imagine that he hasn't been. I know he certainly had a good reputation as a player and a coach at Michigan State, for what I know. So it's entirely possible he'll be the interim and then he'll become the full-time head coach. I don't know that. So the time is not good for them. Of course, they can't make Phil Parker their interim head coach right now. So if they hire him, it's going to be after the season. And I certainly think, I don't know how Phil may be a little bit like Bill Brazier.
Yeah.
As you recall, Bill Brazier should have gotten the offer to coach at North Texas years ago as a favorite son of North Texas. It wasn't an easy decision for him, I guess, at the time. When they came to Bill later, his response was, I'm good. I'd rather be the defensive coordinator in Iowa. I know Bill said that. And right now, Phil Parker might feel a lot like Bill Brazier. Maybe Phil honestly feels I don't have to be a head coach to prove my worth as a coach. Let's face it, is there a more worthy defensive coordinator in college football than Phil Parker? I don't think so.
No. And he did tell us last year at Media Day, he did say he hasn't ruled out someday being a head coach, but he really loves it here, and the stability, the continuity in his life and his family's life has been important to him. But he didn't rule out the chance that it could happen. He's 60 years old, which, they say now 60 is the new 40, right? Isn't that how we do isn't that how we look at things now? But, that was just a name that's obviously going to be thrown out there. It'll be interesting to see. I hope Phil stays. I hope Phil just decides to retire as the Iowa defensive coordinator. Or maybe someday he might be picked to replace Kirk. I don't know. So, well, Don, listen, this was another great hour of discussion. I'm very confident that we're going to be talking about a win next week, but you never say never. Obviously, you know more about competition. Stranger things have happened, but I would be shocked if Iowa doesn't win this game on Saturday, wouldn't you?
Yeah. The challenge for Iowa this week has got to be something bigger than just to be 3-0. We need to be 3-0, and we need to feel good about that third game.
That's a great point.
So, the challenge is to play up to our abilities and not play down to someone else's. So let's play Iowa football. Let's focus on fundamentals. Let's be better at all the basics, and let's feel good. Let's feel better about our team after the game than we do before the game. That's the challenge. Well
said. And that fan that came up and congratulated you, that fan knows exactly what he's talking about, because you did it with class, Kirk does it with class, Hayden did it with class, and Iowa fans were lucky to have all of you, Don. And we'll be back a week from now, I'm pretty sure, talking about 3-0 and talking about a huge game coming up at Penn State.
Well, you're very kind, Pat. I'll just say this. It's what the Iowa fans deserve, and it's what the Iowa players deserve.
I agree with you, sir. And thank you again. Great stuff as usual. Enjoy the week, and we'll be back a week from now.
You do the same, Pat. Take
All
care.
Righty.
You contributed.
I tried.
You got us. You got us the information we needed on.
I tried.
Who was it? Who did you look up?
TCU.
TCU. You've got your TCU connections down there. They got a hold of you right away, didn't they?
Yes.
You're big down at Texas Christian, I've heard.
Texas Christian all the time.
Oh, God. Is that Night Ranger?
Yeah.
You've ridden that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. They did what? That's motoring.
Yeah.
God. All right, let's take a break. Can we take a break?
We'll be back.
1-800-800-ROSE. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist is the only number you need to know to send flowers anywhere in the country or Canada from anywhere in the country. 1-800-800-ROSE. It's so easy. Just remember one number. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist. 1-800-800-ROSE. Remember,
For a gift that your loved one will treasure for a lifetime, find it at our family-owned jewelry store in Iowa City, Hertine and Stocker Jewelers.
We can show you diamond engagement rings, colored stones, fashion jewelry, and watches.
Our jewelers are on site so we can design jewelry for that special person in your life.
We are Hertine and Stocker, serving Iowa City and the surrounding area for 3 generations.
Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, and HertineandStockerJewelers.com. Ask for Willa, Terry, Tim, or Kate. One of us is always there.
Over the years, car keys have gotten extremely complex. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can generate the most technically advanced automotive keys on the market today. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can produce most conventional transponder, sidewinder, and remote-headed keys. If you've lost the keys to your car or simply need a duplicate, call 330-9185. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars has the technology to keep you on the road. Call 330-9185 and schedule an appointment today.
The Sanctuary Pub in downtown Iowa City has been a fixture since 1972 and still features a classic menu such as the classic shepherd's pie, handcrafted pizzas, and craft beers and cocktails. The Sanctuary Pub is known for its warm and cozy atmosphere. That's the perfect place to spend time with family and friends while enjoying live music. Support great local food with socially distanced dine-in, carry-out, and delivery through Chomp Delivery. The Sanctuary Pub is located at 405 South Gilbert Street. Full menu options are online at sanctuarypub.com. Come experience the Sanctuary Pub. You won't ever want to leave.
Car won't go into gear? Call Premier. Premier Automotive in North Liberty offers full-service mechanical auto repair, in addition to being Eastern Iowa's most trusted name in auto body repair. Use Premier for all your auto repair needs: brakes, oil changes, air conditioning, diagnostics, transmissions, or preventative maintenance. Whether you hit a deer or your car won't go into gear, see Premier Automotive in North Liberty.
Are you tired of living in a home that doesn't quite meet your needs? Then it's time to call the experts at Streets Maintenance. Their team of skilled professionals specializes in renovations and remodeling, transforming your home into the space you've always dreamed of. From kitchen bath remodels to complete home renovations, no job is too big or too small. Streets Maintenance will work with you every step of the way to ensure your vision becomes a reality. So don't wait any longer. Call Streets Maintenance to schedule your consultation at 400-4483. Let's start building your dream home today.
On an athletic team, you need team players, good athletes, superior equipment, and the best coaches available. In real estate, you need to have a good title and settlement team at your disposal. Hi, this is Steve Anderson. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing, you need quality title and settlement services. Consider the team at Hawkeye Title. Give us a call at 351-8600. Hawkeye Title and Settlement, the team you love, the people you trust.
Don't let just anyone take care of your smile. At Diamond Dental, you can expect compassion, expertise, and a personalized care plan to protect your teeth for life. With more than 30 years of combined experience, Dr. Forbes and his staff are prepared to tackle even your toughest dental problems, leaving your smile healthy and sparkling. Diamond Dental offers a full range of general and cosmetic dentistry, as well as dental treatment options for snoring and sleep apnea. It's never too early to start thinking about what's best for your smile. Schedule an appointment today by calling 319-390-3703 or visiting the office at 5815 Consul Street Northeast, Suite D1 in Cedar Rapids. You can also visit DiamondDentalPC.com for more information. Dr. Forbes is a proud sponsor of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club and the Inner Circle. Let the Diamond Dental team provide superior care for your entire family.
When you go to a family restaurant, you want 3 things. 1, a wide selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items. 2, you want those selections to be affordable and delicious. And 3, you want to be treated like family. You get all 3 at the Midtown Family Restaurant. Breakfast items available anytime the doors are open. Legendary tenderloins, onion rings, and hot roast beef sandwiches. And special ribeye and shrimp nights. Daily specials at each location. And no matter if you're coming in solo or with a group of 20, you get the same special family treatment. The Midtown Family Restaurants at Court and Scott Streets and at the Walmart Plaza on Highway 1 West. Follow them on Facebook or at MidtownFamily.com. The family's waiting for you. GT Carr, owner of Supple's Building and Remodeling, has been offering unmatched service and quality for over 25 years. The trained professionals at Supple's Building and Remodeling will install and guarantee the products used in any job, no matter how big or small. They also stand behind their work and offer no-nonsense, exceptional customer service from design to completion and beyond. Whether it's a simple window replacement or a major house addition, you'll have the confidence that Supple's Building and Remodeling is committed to quality. Visit supples.net or call them today at 319-337-2246.
If you're looking for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, you should know Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the best selection and pricing on new Fords, Deary Ford is here for you. To work with long-term experienced sales and service reps, Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the highest trade values, Deary Ford is here for you. To provide pickup and delivery and mobile service for our customers, Deary Ford is here for you. Hurry in or shop online at DearyFord.com.
Football fans, this is Bill Leixenring of the Oxyoke Inn. We are on your way to or from the game. We're ready to serve you with the same quality food and customer service you've come to trust for over 80 years. The Oxyoke Inn is serving our famous Sunday brunch buffet with lunch, dinner, banquets, and carry-out daily. From our Oxyoke family to yours, we can't wait to see you again soon in the heart of Amana.
The Oxyoke Inn.
From the Harty and Stalker Studios in the heart of the Hawkeye Nation, this is the mighty 1630 KCJJ, Iowa City.
Harty and Stalker Jewelers, making memories, making moments.
With your Iowa City forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. For today, showers and thunderstorms with a high near 67. For tonight, clearing out, lows around 49. For Tuesday, sunshine, a high near 72. Clear skies, a low around 49 Tuesday night. Sunshine and 72 again for Wednesday. Thursday, sunshine and a high near 75. That's weather from SevereStudios.com on the mighty 1630 KCJJ.
It's 64 at our studios.
KCJJ weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply, kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
Hawk Fanatic is back. It's back. It's back.
We're back. We're here.
We're back.
We're breaking it down.
Good
breaking down the break.
Are you breaking down the break?
What are you reading? Are you going to read us on?
No, this Mel Tucker thing.
It's really unfortunate.
It really is.
The thing is, though, they only suspended him when they first found. Now it's gone public, and my guess is they'll fire him now. It's kind of similar to what they did at Northwestern. They do their punishment. It's not near as severe. Then the story goes public. We better.
What exactly did he do?
Well, basically,
what are they saying he did?
Phone sex
Yeah.
with a rape survivor victim advocate. Who he invited to the campus to speak to the team, and then she also was a honorary captain for a game, and they started having a flirtatious relationship over the phone, and then I guess he started making unwanted sexual advances on the phone. She reported it, and he's married. I mean, that's the other thing.
Okay.
He acknowledged masturbating on the call, but said Tracy grossly mischaracterized the episode.
Well, how do you grossly mischaracterize that episode?
He said that it was casual phone sex.
But he's married.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it just doesn't look good for a head coach making $9.5 million. He's in a little.
He'd have to make time for other things than that.
Yeah, I think when you're in that position, you're held to a higher standard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair to say. There's a lot of people that could probably get away with having phone sex and masturbate. No, I have not.
Have I?
Yeah.
No.
I have.
Yeah, and there's nobody even on the other line when he does it.
I just call random numbers.
He just calls himself.
I just call random numbers that have recordings on them, and I talk.
But
to
it's just not. It's just not the image you want.
No,
Your
it's not
9.5.
good.
I mean, they still owe him $70 million.
80.
Is it 80? My guess is.
80.
I'm guessing he's going to get some of that. Don't you think? As part of a separation, just go, get out of here.
Get out of here.
How much do you think he'll get of that?
40 to 50.
Oh, you think he'll get that much? I saw some people estimating 20, 30.
Is there a morality clause in his contract?
Yes,
though?
that's what they're using to get rid of him. Can't do anything to embarrass the university.
Why would you do that? I mean, what the hell?
I mean, what do you think his wife's thinking?
Well, not good. What do you think Jan would be thinking if I had phone sex? The only time I've had phone sex is when I got a loan from a bank.
Ah,
yeah.
And they weren't aware that you were masturbating on the other line, right?
Not at all.
So they were not a willing participant.
No, not at all.
No, it's just the last thing the Big Ten Conference needs now. I mean, Michigan State had that Larry Nassar. Remember all that crap?
Yeah. Oh, good God.
I mean, they're just getting over that stuff, and now they have to deal with this.
No, it's bad.
It really is.
It really is.
And USA Today, I believe, was the one that did the
did
the investigation. There's still a lot of good work being done there, and I actually saw it when I was out walking yesterday, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that he is throwing all this away just so he could beat off on the phone. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's just ridiculous.
Doesn't make any sense. Makes you wonder though if there's more going on upstairs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just
well, how do you mischaracterize it?
That's a pretty lame excuse.
Yeah, I would love to know I'd love to get his explanation. Yeah. I'd love to get his spin for why he doesn't think he should lose his job after he acknowledges that he was doing that. What would he say? What could he say?
I don't know. It's just I don't get it.
No, and she was a rape victim years ago, right? And she's become an advocate.
Yeah.
And that's how they got acquainted. He brought her in to speak to the players about, rape awareness and all that stuff. And then meanwhile, I don't know, it's just strange.
Hello.
Hello. I don't understand phone sex, and I don't ever care to understand it.
Thank God.
I feel much better knowing that, Karen.
Anyway, I enjoyed seeing this freshman play field hockey. She scored 4 goals.
She's got 16 in 6 games.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
She is the Caitlin Clark of field hockey.
Oh, she is.
She really is, stat-wise.
She had 4 goals Friday, too.
It's like she's getting 30, 40 points a game in basketball. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're quite the story, man. This is going to be a fun, developing story. Look forward to going over there and covering some games.
In the second quarter, it just poured down rain.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
And nobody thought it was going to rain there, but it got soaked. I was smart because I took an umbrella in because I thought, well, if it's sunny, I want to be under shade.
It was really scattered because
we didn't get any of that.
It was raining here at south of Iowa City, and then when I went into Coralville, like a half an hour later, it was dry as a bone.
Yeah, I didn't get my neighborhood in East Iowa City. We didn't get any rain.
Yeah.
Now we did what have we gotten since last night? And
got almost since midnight. We got 4,500.
That's half an inch almost. That's great.
Well, is it supposed to rain all day today, or what?
Yeah, it's supposed to rain for the next hour, and then it's going to cease. According, I just looked.
I need to get groceries.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you should be fine. But I can tell my grass already looks better today than it did 2 days ago.
It was a good rain. There were some pockets.
Things out there are starting to look a little greener.
Yeah, we needed it. Thank you.
Yep, some pockets of heavy rain, but mostly it was just kind of a nice steady rain all night.
So was there a good crowd at the field hockey game?
Yes, there was.
I've noticed our traffic is picking up on the website, too, for field hockey stories.
Yeah.
I think when you're number one and you have this phenom, that's going to interest fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, no, it's a fun story.
And what did you think of the quarterback for Iowa State?
Thought he was just playing ahead of schedule. I just don't think he was going to be their backup this year, and now he's thrust into this starting role, and I just think he's having to learn on the fly. He's not real big, doesn't have a real strong arm, and you could tell they don't trust him a lot yet because their game plan was so conservative. So conservative.
They kept showing his parents on
Yes,
TV.
They did do that. Now, that wasn't bad because his mom is quite the looker, I will say that.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that.
Okay, guys, well, have a good day.
Okay.
Well, he threw twice as many passes as McNamara.
Yeah, but most of them were just little dinks and dunks.
Just dump balls.
It reminded me of the Iowa offense in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe those in the fourth quarter. They're down by 2 scores, and there's like 5.5 minutes left in the game, and they're letting the play clock go down to like 2 and 3.
Yeah.
They were playing with no sense of urgency. I even tweeted they're playing like they think this game's 5 quarters. Yes. It just made. But Don brought up a good point. They played a lot not to lose. They seemed like they were afraid to make mistakes, and I do think, in fairness, everything's changed for them because of the gambling stuff. Their quarterback's not there.
That's a huge hole to fill.
It's pushed everything. to an accelerated course of learning, a lot of learning on the fly, and that's what that looked like. I just think that quarterback wasn't ready to win a game like that. And McNamara, I thought McNamara did okay. I didn't think he was great. I still think I think the injury's bugging him.
Hurt.
I think the injury's bugging him mentally, physically. I think it's affecting the play calling. And he did have a couple throws that I'm guessing he would like to have back. He missed a couple open receivers.
He said exactly that.
But the key thing is they're 2-0. I mean, like Kirk says, you can't be better than 2-0 when you've played 2 games. I do believe they'll win convincingly, so they're going to go into conference play. They should be 3-0. But I worry about that Penn State game if Cade's not able to make all the plays that he's capable of because of that injury. That could be a problem.
Yep.
Because that team's going to score. It's going to be asking a ton for that Iowa defense to go over there and hold Penn State to like 13, 14 points. That's going to be. They're going to probably have to score 3, 4, maybe 4 touchdowns to win that game, and that's what you want for this team. I mean, the last frontier for Kirk at this stage, they've shown they can win 8, 9, 10. The last thing is a Big Ten title. That's what's there. It's been almost 2 decades. That's where we are with expectations. When you stick around this long and you've won as much as Kirk has at different levels, the 8, 9, and 10 win seasons, if they don't include that championship, that's what's next. And they have to try to win it this year because it's going to get so much more difficult next year. So we'll see. I mean, but Cade is obviously he's not anywhere close to 100%. But he did not take a step back, though. That was the good news from Saturday.
Yeah.
He didn't aggravate the injury.
So if they beat Penn State, do you see them winning out all the way through?
I would never say that, but I would say they'd have a much better chance because I have them losing
that's
2
the biggest game
I have them losing Penn State and Wisconsin during the regular season. Now, I was not that impressed with Wisconsin, but there's been other times where I've said I'm not that impressed with Wisconsin, and they beat Iowa.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to – I don't expect them to go 12-0, but if they do beat Penn State, that will be a major – but the thing with Iowa, though, they're the kind of team they'll beat Penn State and then like lose the next game. They do stuff
They've
like
done
that
before.
So we'll see. Just like Kirk says, just got to take it one game at a time.
Yeah, they do a really good job with that. And I thought the game was slightly better than last week's. I mean, they was basically the same game plan: score early and
it got boring in the second half.
But that's the way Iowa plays.
It is, and that's the way Iowa State played right into Iowa's hands. But like Kirk has said. Yeah, I guess college football is entertainment, but Kirk's paid to graduate players and win games. I mean, the entertainment thing, that's not his concern. But, no, it got a little boring in the second half because you could tell both offenses just didn't have a lot.
Right.
And the Iowa defense looks like it's going to be real good again. They're always in the right position. These guys they plug in, Phil Parker's to the point now where they don't rebuild on defense, they reload. And I think we're seeing that again. But the big test is going to be what they can do against a really good Penn State offense.
Yep.
Hello.
So I'm a little surprised that you're giving Brian Ferentz a pass on what happened on Saturday.
I'm not giving him a full pass.
Being at the game, I watched him run the same play 3 times in a row in the second half. The first time you ran it, it got some yardage. And then it was shut down for no gain. Then it was shut down for a loss. And it became a 3-and-out, and we ended up having to punt. I mean, there were so many times that he was trying to run the ball up the middle, and that was not effective because they were loading the box, playing one-on-one coverage with the receivers. And, his offense is so predictable still. I don't understand, why. I got your idea on Cade because you could tell that he had no mobility. He'd go back in the pocket and stand there and make his passes. But I hate giving a pass to Brian Ferentz all the time just because we're winning.
I've been very critical about Brian Ferentz in numerous articles. Hell, his brother-in-law blocks me on Twitter, so I'm not worried about being a homer towards Brian Ferentz. All I'm saying is if they connect on that Seth Anderson pass, if they connect on that pass where Lachey's wide open, those are deep seam routes, then things look a little better. 1 or 2 plays can change the whole complexion. I do remember the series you're talking about, and I tweeted that I thought that was a lost series. I didn't think that was good play calling, but do you realize that a lot of good running teams have the box stacked against them and they still run the ball? It just seems like with so many Iowa fans, well, they're loading the box, we can't run. A lot of teams run with a loaded box. Why can't Iowa? I mean, Wisconsin's ran against loaded boxes for years. But why can't Iowa run the ball against a loaded box?
And I get that, but what he was trying to do more often than not, I was at the game. I was 11 rows back behind the Iowa bench.
Well, I watched the game too. I mean,
I was going on there, and it was just, to me, he kept trying to run the ball up the middle. Then he got a little bit of success running the ball to the outside. And then it seemed like we went away from that, tried, especially in that one series where he ran the same exact play 3 times. And it's like the last series that the Hawks had. It was predictable that he was going to run and I know that's what you should be doing at that point in time. But for me, I would be trying to do everything I could not to give the ball back to Iowa State. But, there's one thing about them. Their time management there. I was
terrible.
Surrounded by Iowa State people that were just cussing at the top of their lungs.
As they should have been.
The way they played down the stretch.
See, I'd be more concerned about why Iowa can't run the ball than why they're calling running plays at this stage. That's just me. I don't get why they can't run the ball. And the loaded box, I get it, but I watch teams run against loaded boxes all the time. Iowa's offense is predicated on running the ball. My guess is Brian is told by the head hawk, we got to get this running game going. We got to do this, and I think some of that could be the product of that. Now, no, I'm not giving Brian, but I did think Brian was way more aggressive than the Iowa State play caller. But I think they're also playing with a quarterback right now that has no mobility. It was very similar to last year. Right now, McNamara has no more mobility than Spencer Petras because he's hurt. And I even tweeted a couple times, this offense reminds me of last year. And they ended up with 235 yards. So I get what you're saying, but I just think there's going to be times where that box is going to be loaded this year. And if they can't run the ball, they're going to be in trouble. They just are, and I don't know why they can't run the ball. I just don't get it.
And what I saw, one more thing, Pat, and I'll let you get back. They had success in that one running play where he just busted it open and took off. And it seemed to me like they thought they could run that play again and be successful with it. But I just think that, there was good blocking at the line, and once he busted through the line, the secondary had nothing for him. Eventually they caught him and tackled him. But, man, that burst of speed after he got through the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tried to go back to that play over and over again, and it just wasn't successful. And I get the whole Cade McNamara thing, and I don't know. Do you think it was his lack of mobility, or did they call those plays intentionally to not put him in a situation where he had to scramble?
Oh, I think that's a big part of it. Don Patterson said the same thing. You saw when he tried to scramble against Utah State, you saw how much pain he was in when he really put a lot of stress on that right quad. It's just not healed. And those are those kind of injuries you don't really know where they are health-wise until you challenge yourself, until you make that spin move in the pocket where you put that tough plant into the ground. But you saw against Utah State, there were a couple times where he was in noticeable pain, and I think they're trying to avoid those because you risk having him take a setback. It's a tough injury to deal with.
Yeah, because there was like one third down play where you knew, it was like 3rd and 1. You knew there was no way in the world they were going to run a quarterback sneak. And I knew Iowa State knew that too because they didn't stack over the center like you would expect.
Well, plus Iowa said they weren't going to run sneaks. No, I do think the injury's part of that, but like I've said before, Nate Stanley was 245, almost 250 pounds. That helped him with sneaks. Spencer Petras, even though he wasn't near as strong as Nate, still weighed 235, 240. Cade is small. He's not very big. I think that plays into it too. But I think the thing that they're missing right now, because when they got McNamara, all I kept reading about, and I wrote about it, and fans were, oh, my God, we're going to at least be able to make the pocket mobile. Because with Spencer, the big criticism was he just stood back there, no mobility, the pocket never moved. Well, right now, Cade's no different because of the injury, and I think it has put the offense in a real bind right now. And if that is making excuses for him, then so be it. But my biggest criticism of the offense is run the damn ball. You should be able to, with a veteran offensive line with multiple guys having made multiple starts, they should be able to average 4 yards a carry even if they are loading the box. That's what I don't understand.
Well, the nice thing is we're 2-0. We just beat Iowa State, beat them. When we walked off the field on Saturday, they walked off with class.
Yep.
They all went over and grabbed the trophy, and they came off the class. Came over to the other corner of the end zone and sang the Iowa fight song, which was awesome.
And they brought the kid captain out.
That
was
they brought the kid captain out with them too. The kid captain for the game. I thought that was really cool.
The punter came over and got the little
Torrey
kid,
Taylor. Yeah,
Torrey's off the wall and took him out there.
I thought that was really
a classy
cool.
Move.
No, it really was. That Torrey Taylor's a class act. He's a very mature adult. He's 26 years old. He's the 12th oldest player in college football. But no, that was winning with class, and they definitely did that.
Yeah, it's more. Hey, you were real quick. One more thing. The Iowa State punter was amazing. When he would kick the ball, he would get the spiral on it. He would turn it over, and he was getting some hype. Like I don't want to say he's Reggie Roby, but man, he was getting hype like Reggie Roby used to get when I'd see him kick.
No,
I mean,
he's
there was
good.
a couple of his punts that were just monster hyped on that.
No, he was good last year too. No, they've got, and that kicker from Nebraska looked pretty good. I mean, they look like they've got their kicking game resolved. I just think if they can't run the ball with this quarterback playing ahead of schedule, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, go Hawks. Let's get a win against Michigan and Western Michigan, and then go after Penn State.
That's
so
all you can do.
All right.
One at a time. Thanks.
That's
Appreciate
it.
the call.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for Brian Ferentz, but there's times where I want to be careful I'm not, because I've been pretty critical of Brian Ferentz in a lot of articles, and I mean, but you have to be. The offense has issues, but I just didn't have a major problem with a lot of the play calling. I just cannot figure out why this team can't run the ball better. I know teams are loading the box, but like I say, a lot of good running teams, they handle that. They still can run. But I do think with McNamara's limitations right now, it's kind of put this offense in sort of a conservative mode. I think they planned on using Cade a lot differently than what they have been. But there's nothing they can do about that because injuries are injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they played, I don't know, I was happy they won, but I thought they played a little better.
They scored 7 points against Iowa State last year. This year they scored 20, so there's progress. Now, granted, the defense did score one of the touchdowns. I mean, the defense has got at least one pick six, I think they were saying, in 16 straight seasons.
Wow.
Was that the stat? And there was another one that was their 25th pick six since 2003. Just incredible defensive statistics. And that play with Castro, if you heard his explanation, that was experience. I mean, he's a fifth-year senior. He knew exactly where to be because he's prepared. He's got experience. He's smart, and just the repetitions and everything.
Yep.
He knew exactly what they were going to do. He sniffed out the play right away, went and anticipated the route in the flat, cut it off, and boom, there you got a pick six. That's preparation, that's coaching, and that's experience.
Yeah, we went and during one of the timeouts, commercial timeouts, we went and had a 6-course dinner and came back and didn't miss a thing.
Yeah, they're long, aren't they?
God. Fox is the worst.
Oh, they are the worst. I mean, they have some commercial breaks that are 4 minutes long.
Yeah,
that's a long time to interrupt a game, and I think there's times where it might even disrupt the flow of the players on the field.
I would think it would.
To go from playing and all of a sudden you got to stand for 4 minutes. But that ain't changing, guys. It's probably only going to get worse because there's so much money involved with it. You know how much we all love money.
They all should raise their rates. And then, I don't know.
You think the same advertisers would still advertise if they raise their rates?
Yeah. Yeah, to get that audience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sometimes what you have to do.
What do you think of the political stuff?
You mean at the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. You'd see they'd show ones of Trump being flipped off. Then you'd see another one where people that were practically bowing and worshiping him. I guess it just depends on what your perception was at it. They did show one funny one. They showed like a DeSantis camp where you could sign up to raffle off hats. Not one signature.
No.
Nobody had signed.
No, and there was a lot of flipping off. So
yeah.
By both teams, by both fans rather. Basically.
But there was also a lot of Trump worship there too. I mean, I saw like a lady crying because he touched her hand, and she's like, "I can't believe it." Because. That's where it seems like you are with him now. People either hate him or they worship him. There doesn't seem to be much in between.
I think that a lot of people thought came for the game. And I think they were, at least the comments I read.
Basically inconvenienced by their appearance.
They don't care whether you're a Republican or Democrat. We came for the game.
Yeah, and there's times where you don't. Politics doesn't have to seep into everything. I was waiting for Trump, though, when the Iowa was winning 20-3. I was waiting for him to take credit for the defense. Phil Parker learned everything from me. I was waiting for him to do that. But that guy you've seen the picture of the guy flipping him off.
Yeah.
People know who that guy is. I wonder how that's going over for that guy. Because that was pretty blatant, and Trump was just waving. He had to see it. It was like 15 feet in front of him.
And he was Iowa State.
And it was definitely an Iowa State fan. Yeah. So, and then did Asa Hutchinson actually show up, and nobody probably even knew he was there?
I think he did.
He did. He was there.
No, nobody really, and so was Ramaswamy.
He was there too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see.
Yeah, nobody cared. Nobody cared.
Did you see his interview with that Madai?
Yeah.
Wow, it just destroyed him.
He just can't keep his
lies straight.
Well, he's just a mess. I mean, and if he thinks that the Republicans and the far right would ever,
Oh, he's not going to be there.
Not at all.
I think he's bucking for VP, but I think Trump's going to have a woman.
He's not going to, he'll have that Kristi Noem who's hot. She's hot.
Yeah, but won't that piss off
the
lady in Arizona?
Evidently
Carrie
will
Lake.
piss off the MSU coach, but I mean, he's calling her right now.
Might piss off Melania.
How about the plane that flew over saying, "Where's Melania?" You saw that?
Yeah, it was great.
So yeah, people had fun with it, but we got to enjoy the game while we can because I don't think it's going to be around much longer.
Somebody paid $450 for that or $500.
I would think so.
That's how much it is.
Well, when we flew,
that seems pretty cheap.
We flew a banner over when we were doing the unofficial games. And we flew a banner, and it cost us like $325.
See, I figured it'd be more. That's really not that bad.
No, it flew it kept flying over the whole game. Yeah, the guy was on our side. Maybe he gave me a price break or something. I don't know.
What did your banner say?
KCJJ welcomes all Hawk fans.
So that was over an Iowa football game?
Yeah.
How long ago? I don't know.
Before 1997.
Oh, okay. I would have been there.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe I do remember. I just don't remember it happening now. But
well, it couldn't happen after 9/11.
Oh,
remember they stopped all flights over everything.
Yeah, no, I do obviously remember that. And God, to think it's been 22 years.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was. I'm sure you guys do. Well, you were probably on the air, weren't you?
Yep, I was on the air.
Yeah,
weren't
I know.
You on the air?
Yep.
Yeah. But not here. But
no.
Yeah, and then I'm sure that basically just altered your coverage for.
That actually changed Anthony, and I mean seriously. It was like PTSD.
Would he stop ripping people?
Yeah, it became kinder.
For how long?
That was very serious.
Forever?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it just and I watched it happen. It just changed him. He was in shock.
I think we all were.
Yeah, but I mean, he really took it mentally a lot farther than most.
Yeah, it's amazing that. I mean, they were talking this morning about some of the men who got killed. Their wives were pregnant with.
Yeah.
Those kids are now all graduating from college. Think about that.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, and there are people still dealing with the illnesses.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's just,
I mean the respiratory disease and everything. Yeah. So yeah, and I saw people ripping Biden because he wasn't going to be there. But if he was there, they would have ripped him for not being at the summit thing. I mean, he can't clone
he was
himself.
at the summit thing, and then he went and visited the grave sites. We've got soldiers over in Vietnam, and he paid tribute to those.
Yeah, I mean, that was a no-win. They're going to find something to rip.
Oh
him.
yeah.
They'll find something to rip him on. There's nothing he can do about that. But yeah, no, it's and I assume what's going on TV right now. Is it full coverage of 9/11 stuff?
No, they did the memorial.
They read off the names, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've already done that because doesn't that take a while?
Well, they might still be doing it. I haven't been paying.
Isn't it like 2,300 names?
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that. It's 20.
But
27 or 28.
They broke it and did the moment of silence and the playing of taps and so forth. But
yeah, we carried all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you do. It's 22 years.
Still feels fresh in the memory. That's for sure.
It sure
Have
does.
you seen the? Well, you've never been to New York, so you haven't seen the
Ground Zero.
It's pretty cool.
I'd like to see that.
It's pretty neat.
Did you ever dub off the stuff for Brooke?
It's on my list of things to do. I'll get to it because I thought of that over the weekend.
Yeah.
I need to get it done.
Brooke Bigford was our news director then, and we sent her out to Ground Zero in December of that year, and she interviewed people. And Brooks worked with NBC before she was just a pro, and that's one of the best broadcasts, I think, just by me running the board, one of the best broadcasts that we ever aired. It was that I ever had a part of. It was just amazing, and she interviewed all these people and talked about the loved ones they lost and everything, and they were still there in December around Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
They were still at the site.
I'll never forget the images of the people jumping off out of the windows. And then hearing the bodies. That's just something that will stay with you forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was cool this morning how they had some of their own kids that lost their parents in there reading the names, and younger kids, because they want them to remember.
Sure.
Even though they don't remember, they want them to feel it.
And now we have such an unusual relationship with Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's just, I don't get it.
I'll never get over that.
I mean, because most of those guys were from Saudi Arabia, weren't they? Almost all of them.
Yeah. Well, they funded them.
Mm-hmm.
That Saudi family that and political or not, that gave so much to Jared Kushner. And
they got the golf tournament.
Yeah, and has they have stock in Fox. The Saudi family helped fund that.
It's a very complicated situation. Yeah. Now we're going to go back to the Hawks. No, we had a full dose of Hawks today with Don. That was good stuff as usual. And I didn't know if I just felt like I should ask him about the Mil Tucker stuff, because I
think that was,
and I don't think he had a problem addressing that, because that's what everyone's talking about right now.
Well, it is ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You got, what was he, $90 million? 92 or something?
Actually, almost close to 100.
Yeah. And
$9.5 million a year is what he was earning.
And a marriage for phone sex? I mean, and I never thought I'd hear
from a rape victim too, though.
Yeah.
That's how they met. That's the circumstances.
I never thought I'd hear Karn say the words phone sex.
Well, were you ever under the impression that Karn was big into phone sex?
No,
I never was.
No,
so I was not surprised.
No, I just never thought I'd hear that. I love her.
You broke out laughing when she said the words phone sex.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and no, it's just the kind of story. Some of the stuff you couldn't have made up more strange stories. I mean, just starting with the Sandusky stuff, the Larry Nassar, that doctor at Ohio State that was supposedly molesting wrestlers, and people are like, well, how can you molest a wrestler? They just kick your... You don't... Power can make even the strongest person.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's circumstances where you are, too. I'm sure there's probably, some of these wrestlers, if they were not in a public setting, they maybe would have acted differently. But there's consequences for doing stuff in a public setting, I mean, being tougher than the person next to you doesn't always work, because you're going to get in trouble either way. And
hey, they're human beings.
And they're human beings, too. So, yeah, I mean, there's just, the Big Ten has taken some real hits.
It's ridiculous. And, this is just, I don't know. It's just really, now, I did manage over the phone this morning to pay my Verizon bill.
I'm guessing, though, you were not aroused by that, though.
No, I was frustrated. I was very frustrated.
Yes. There was a lot of curse
I doused my face with cold water.
Yeah, that's definitely not phone sex.
No. No, but it's at times feels like you're getting F.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, just to pay a bill every month. It's just ridiculous.
Joe, do you ever think about sending just a check every month?
Yeah, can you put it on your...
Just start sending checks. That's what I do to Verizon. The problem is, though, if they don't get the check the moment it's due, then they start reaching, hey, you're late.
Well, I got it anyway, reminders on the second.
Well, you're going to have to tell me how much it is, because we don't get a bill anymore.
How do you not get a bill?
Paperless billing.
Oh, see, I still get a bill from Verizon, but I'm not a business like you.
Today it was $403.
Just for 1 month?
Yeah.
Wow.
What was that?
Well, that's 4 phones. And that's actually 5 phones, because our remote...
Right.
Remote.
Now, does that include the international coverage that they bought? So
everything.
That's probably why it's higher.
Yeah. Hello.
We had gone to the City High ribbon cutting for the gym that John Ballmer was talking about on Friday.
I couldn't get up there yesterday because I had a couple of interviews I had to do. But did you go?
Yeah, and the old gym, the original gym, that entire thing is state-of-the-art weightlifting equipment, probably more equipment than Planet Fitness. It was impressive.
No, I'm going to go up there and check it out. I wished I could have gotten up there yesterday, but it was between 1 and 3, and just a couple things popped up. But I will get over there because, no, it's really neat what they've done over there. I mean, it really is. And it shows you when people work together, rally together, what you can accomplish.
Exactly. It was cool. Thank you.
Yep. But, yeah, the new gym over at City High is really nice. And it was long overdue, and they got it done. Yeah. And this thing, like I said, I'm going to try to get over there at some point. Like I said, I just couldn't. A couple things just developed late and what have you. But no, John Bomber, those people deserve a lot of credit for doing that.
They do.
For raising the money, for taking the time, because that stuff's not easy.
No, it's hard work, and it's
not easy to get people to give money away. You know,
not especially in these times.
Yeah, with inflation. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, no, that's a lot of nice work and it was they needed that. They needed that for the high school, and I'm glad that they were able to do that.
Did you watch any NFL yesterday?
I watched as much as the Bears as I could tolerate. God, did they suck?
Yeah,
because I still don't think the Packers are very good. I mean,
Jordan Love is no Aaron Rodgers by any stretch.
Well, he looked pretty good yesterday.
He did, but look who he was playing.
Yeah,
they didn't look like they were ready for even a preseason game.
But who knows? Maybe Jordan Love will actually be able to win some playoff games, unlike Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know, so but right now San Francisco looks like they're heads and shoulders above everybody. I mean, they look incredible. And the Iowa State quarterback Brock Purdy, he looks good, and they look the best of anybody that I saw yesterday. Dallas looked incredible, but the Giants just never showed up. They were terrible. They couldn't block Dallas's defense. They could not protect their quarterback, and you think at this level that they would be able to do that. So, but yeah, the Bears game was really disappointing. I mean, their best play on offense is still Justin Fields running for his life. That's their best. And that big stud receiver that they signed, DJ Moore, he was not happy. He had some bad body language already for the first game. He didn't come there. You know, everyone's like, well, shut up and just earn your money. Well, I mean, yeah, money's a big part of it, but he didn't come there to get two. I think at one point in the third quarter he had 2 targets. And you could tell he was really frustrated.
Well, they showed a picture of the bench, and this is midway through the second half, and I think one of the announcers goes, "They look like they've already lost."
Oh, that was when they showed DJ Moore. He was pissed.
Yeah,
he was stewing. Dejected. He was pouting a little bit because he wasn't getting the ball. But like I said, I still don't think the Packers are that great. I think they're going to lose some games this year. And Jordan Love, I mean, he missed a lot of receivers. I mean, he was, for a lot of the game, he was below 500 in completion percentage. It's just the Bears were so bad. I don't think there was any way the Packers were going to lose that game yesterday. They couldn't. The Bears would not allow the Packers to lose that game because the Bears were just terrible.
Yeah.
So, being a Bears fan is tough.
It always has been.
I think Detroit might be the best team in that division.
They were impressive.
I think they might be. I think they've got the best quarterback right now. Jared Goff, didn't he win a Super Bowl with the Rams?
I think so.
I think he did, and then they basically got rid of him because they wanted, of course, the former Detroit quarterback, whose name right now is escaping me. The guy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't remember his name, but I think
Cousins.
No, not Cousins. Cousins plays for the Vikings.
That's right.
And the Vikings, they got beat by Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, that was a big win for them. Not Cade McNamara. Baker Mayfield was terrible in the first half, was good in the second half. I think the Bears division, much like the Big Ten West, is not very good.
No, you're right.
I don't think there's a real good team, and Detroit might be the best of those teams.
And that'd be great, actually, for Detroit. But when was the Bears haven't won a Super Bowl since 1985, and they were in one.
Oh, that's right. It was Anthony Stafford that won the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
For the Rams.
Yeah.
Not Jared Goff. Stafford used to be the Detroit quarterback.
Right.
But boy, did they take a slide last year. They were nothing like they were the year before. So, and then who was it that destroyed it was San Francisco, Detroit, the Steelers. I know Tommy's a big Steelers fan, but the Steelers got some issues. They're just not very good.
Yeah.
And I say that as a Bears fan. Steelers-Bears, you imagine that game would be like 10-3. It'd be brutal. But the 49ers are really good. Kittle's finally healthy again. They look like they're going to have some fun this year. It's just fun having – I love the start of football for pro, college, high school. This is a fun time of year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing to think when Iowa plays this Saturday, they will already be 1/4 of the way through their schedule. Football goes fast.
I know, real fast.
Whereas basketball goes on forever, it seems. Football goes really fast.
Yeah.
And it is a very noteworthy accomplishment for Kirk to win 200 games. That's a lot of victories. That's a lot of wins and a lot of consistency over time. And you have to tip your hat off to him because And I know he tried his best not to be emotional in front of the media, but they showed some of the locker room, and he was completely in tears with his players. And that's where you want him to be the most emotional. Sure. It's around the people in the inside of the program. I get that. As a media guy, if he doesn't cry and gush in front of us, I'm okay with that. I understand that. Save your emotions for the people that matter the most.
Yep.
That's kind of how I look at it. Like, well, you usually get off the air and then cry, right?
Oh, yeah.
I cry every day.
We have a good cry in his office every afternoon.
Any updates from Suter? Where is he now?
He is in somewhere in Croatia, and he's like basically a town away from my brother who has a girlfriend in Croatia.
So you going to look him up?
Back and forth. They were talking to each other on Facebook.
So is he on the cruise part of the trip now?
I think he's. Yeah, he showed the boat moving. He showed the
I guess that.
Because he's still not back for another 8 or 9 days, is he?
No, he's back
the 19th.
Week from Tuesday.
Week from Tuesday. So. Okay, so hopefully I'm sure he's having fun over there.
The last picture he was drinking some wine.
There you go. Well, that's his couple glasses of wine and a couple tumblers of scotch is his go-to.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time for beer. He's moved beyond beer.
Yeah, he's not much of a beer.
He says beer's silly.
Yeah.
Beer drinkers are silly. That's what he told me. He's better than beer is basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it.
He's better than
Not enough alcohol content in light beer. He rolls his eyes at light beer.
He laughs at you.
He does. He does laugh at me. So, but I'm trying to think. Field hockey, soccer is 6-0-1.
Yep.
They're off to a really good start. Volleyball, they're
6-4. That's a good start for them.
Yeah, it is. They got beat yesterday by Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
They got swept. I'm assuming Grand Canyon's pretty good. We'll be able to get the real test for volleyball, see what they do against Big Ten competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, soccer is off to a really good start. And, of course, the field hockey story is really cool, and it's going to continue. This Dion Van Alsum, she's quite a story. She really is. 16 goals in 6 games, that's just incredible.
That is amazing.
Yeah, no, it really is. So, and we've had Lisa on. I'm happy for Lisa. Lisa's great on the radio. She's a great ambassador for that program. She's done a hell of a job since taking over You guys remember the circumstances when she got promoted. It was there was a lot of turmoil in that program.
That's right, there was.
And she has navigated through that incredibly. I'm so impressed with what she's done with that field hockey program.
Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, thanks again to Don Patterson. We'll have Don on again next Monday. Like I said, I don't like to dismiss opponents, but Western Michigan has no business winning that game. They've beaten Iowa before, but those were better Western Michigan teams, and Iowa wasn't good.
I was at that game.
Well, 2000 and 2007. Well, the 2007 team ended up being 6-6. They weren't that good, and the 2000 Iowa team won 3 games. So the circumstances are way different. This would be a major disappointing upset.
It was cold. It was miserable.
And they were playing to get into a bowl game, and they just laid a big egg.
Bud was just beside himself.
I'm talking about the 07 game.
Where he started.
It was the last game of the season.
He started praying, and I said, "You don't want to ask God to look at this. What are you doing?"
So was he praying for a win? Is that how desperate he got?
I think so.
It wasn't going to help that day.
I told him that. He's doing the Catholic thing, the cross and everything. I said, quit it. Just quit
But
it.
to think that team had a bowl game riding on that game, and still they came out and just. I think that showed that they just weren't a very good team. They just weren't. So I don't think I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that on Saturday.
I would hope not.
If we do, then we have a major story for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
We don't want that. So all right, everybody, have a good Monday, and thank you for the rain. Whoever I should thank.
HawkFanatic.com. Check it out. It is free.
Summer of the Arts brings live music to downtown Iowa City with the Friday night concert series.